What's going on, people? Welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to your evening show. It's supposed to be the Flex and KG show, but KG is off doing up Hollywood as he does. You know what I mean, Jay? He's always looking to do some form of crazy shoot. So now, big up to KG. He's got some stuff to do. But me and Jay tonight, man. Jay, how you doing, man?
I'm good. It's good to be on, and at last the show with just two of us. I love everyone on the show, but finally we can talk ourselves and really get into things tonight. So I'm looking forward to it.
100%. There's no Jack here without saying crazy stuff. There's no Alex who just loves Cavani all the time. I mean Greenwood all the time. It's cool. Kev's just not here giving it though. It's your time. It's your time. But we got a lot to get through, man. A lot to get through. As the thumbnail says, and as you guys can see in the title, Sancho and De Gea out. We're going to talk about that. There's been loads today, absolutely loads, man, about Sancho now being on the priority list of Man United. There's been loads about De Gea leaving. Fabrizio Romano basically saying it's fake news that he's going to be going to Roma. But what we do know is Man United are in the hunt for a backup keeper for Dean Henderson. So hence the De Gea out situation. We know that that's something happening there. Talks that Man United are basically prioritising a centre-back and a central midfielder now that they've hang on to Cavani. Also, Tony Valencia as well has retired from football, sent a nice letter to the Man United fans. We'll go through that a little bit later as well. But a lot to get into, man. A lot to get into. Let's start at the top, man, with Jadon Sancho, Jay. A lot of rumours coming out now. Dortmund want it done by the Euros. Now it's a different situation. He's going to cost less money than he did last year. Now there's more takers for Jadon Sancho. Liverpool are interested, maybe Chelsea, but definitely Liverpool. And we can get him for around, 90 million euros, 80 million euros now, which is, best part of between 70 and 90 million pounds we could, when really it was going to be 120 million pounds before. So where do you stand on it, man? Are you here for it?
Okay, just go back to last summer. I told every person that worked at my radio station, back in June, it's not happening. It will not happen. And every day I was getting the latest article shoved under my nose, and my producer, you have to discuss this on air. And it's like, no, I'm not going to discuss it. I discuss it when he's holding up the jersey. And I know Mark was 90% club, and all credit to Mark, but bloody hell, now I'm of the opinion, unless a player has the jersey at the press conference, I'm not going to buy into it. But we got to cover it. Obviously, Jadon Sancho, I love him at the club. This season, by his standards, he's been underwhelming. He still had 14 goals, 15 assists. I'm reading my notes here. 84.4% pass.
Joe's got the notepad out. The notepad is out in full force.
2.3 key passes per game and 2.6 dribbles for an underwhelming season. So you put him as our stalwart right winger, or already potent attacking force, all of a sudden gets an upgrade. And look, we love Mason, but for me, Mason is going to be centre forward. He's done a great job out in right wing, but he's centre forward. And we discussed with KG many times in the show that Aaron Bissaka, to get the best out of Aaron Bissaka development, he needs the same right winger playing with him week in, week out. And obviously, I would love if that was Jadon Sancho. The numbers last season, 120 million. I didn't believe for 1 second the Glazers were going to pay that price.
It's never going to happen, was it?
It wasn't going to happen. And if we're to be believed, and I know since Woodward is leaving, blah, 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 there's been a bit of a media spin from the club on him that it wasn't his fault and whatnot, that it was Joe Glazer that put the brakes on. Whatever story it was, we didn't get him. The money was too much. Now it's down to 80 million. And if we are to believe Dortmund want the deal done before the Euros, and rightly so. So we now have to park everything that's happened in the past and actually think, right, can the new director of football, the same negotiator that's messed up so many deals, can they actually do a deal of that nature in the space of 4 weeks? That takes
never really thought of it like
massive leap of faith on our behalf. And also, for me, it just seems too constructive that this story is being pushed now on the cusp of end of the season, and most importantly, on the cusp of the launch of a new jersey.
Interesting. But also, though, with this deal, one thing, you're right. They've got to get such a big deal done in 4 weeks ish, let's say. But if you think about it, Sancho was ready to go. Like, if you're thinking of it from a contract situation, wages, the agent, do you want to come, Sancho? All of that's already done. All they actually need to do, and I'm saying it like it's simple for Man United, but they don't move like that. But really, Jay, all they actually need to do is pick up the phone, in layman's terms, pick up the phone and say, that thing we wanted to do last year that we took the piss and didn't do it, we know you want to sell now. We've got everything sorted. I put the phone down now. We've got everything sorted with Jadon Sancho. Don't you worry about that. And I even read today that he's actually pushing for a move this time. They've even come out and said, we're open to it. You know, it's there. All we need to do is agree a price. That's it.
Yeah, I take your point on board 100,000%. But will they actually do the simple thing as pull a trigger and execute the deal? And last season they had a free run. Reports are coming out today that Chelsea are looking at him, and so Liverpool.
Yeah.
And the Dortmund board, they will not sit around and wait for United to get their ass in gear. If Chelsea or Liverpool throw 80 million euros on the table, they will sign that deal. I have no qualms about it, because look at it's a German-run club. It's very, very well run. And if they want him gone by the time of the Euros, money's on the table from their club. They're not going to be ringing up our negotiating team. Listen, but guys, by the way, there's 80 million on the table. Will you pay 85, 90? They're not going to do that. They'll pull a trigger.
Well, is that maybe why then, as well? Where I'm trying to look at the positives from the club. Well, I say it's a positive, but a reason why they will come to the forefront and do it. The Glazers want to appease the fans. You know, look at the shiny new toy we're going to get you. Like, you're on our necks. We messed up. Look at this. Now there's other clubs involved. So last year it was a one-horse race. Only Man United were interested in Jadon Sancho, especially towards those kind of figures that were being branded. Even though we pulled out because it was still too expensive at the time, it was a one-horse race. And now, thirdly, Dortmund are actually saying this time, even though they kind of were saying it last year, pay this and you can have him, but they've dropped the price now. So Man United are probably looking at it like, you know what? We've actually come out of this all right. That's why I think maybe they would try and do it, because they risk losing out to, like you say, Liverpool and Chelsea. They risk, even though it's not going to work though, but in their heads, they risk the fans still being pissed off. No, they're going to want to try and appease the fans. And like you said, he's cheaper than last year. So they're going, look, see, guys, we didn't get him last year. See, good business. We knew that we was in a good position, and we've come back and got him 30, 40 million pound cheaper.
I do believe that if they execute this deal and give the fans the shiny new toy, a large portion of the fan base will eat it up like a birthday cake.
You think?
I do believe that. Yeah, I do. And they'll rush out and they'll buy the new kit. And as I said previously, as you know, last week the Huck Group pulled out of the sponsorship deal worth 200 million to take over the sponsorship of the training kit.
That was big. It's big.
That's big, and that's a Manchester-based company.
Yeah, that
potentially could have had My Protein on all the training kit. Hey, if you're watching, come and sponsor me. I'm open to it.
Give Jay the 200 million. He'll take it. He's a good guy.
Give me 10%. I'll go with that. No, but look at I jest. But I do believe a lot of the fan base will actually take the shiny new toy and eat it up. And right now, the relationship between the fan base and the Glazers, it's like the married couple where the husband has gone off and done a mischief, and he's buying her flowers. Flowers didn't work. He's given her a car, saying I'm sorry, and now he's going to buy her a car so she forget all the misdemeanors. So there is a huge element that would go and accept the shiny new toy and maybe a shiny centre back, and all will be forgotten. And I major issue with that, personally.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yasser says, don't agree on everything Jay says, but I genuinely love the guy. Never change. I don't think there's any chance of Jay changing for anyone. And your Flex, you were right. JK, big up Flex as well. Big up Yasser. Thanks for that. And Ali Morgan says, everyone is saying about there's other teams involved in wanting Sancho, but there's leaks everywhere that he's told his agent he wants to come to United. Ali, 100%. The player wants to come to Man United. I agree. But one thing Jadon Sancho won't want is to be strung a line for the whole summer. Well, not the whole summer, but for this time, for it to be longed out again, for him to be left without the move. That happened to him last year when he obviously said, I want to come get it done. I agree on the personal terms. And then Man United probably said to him, right, we're just going to go with Dortmund and sort this out. And they never did. So he was left there thinking, flipping, hey, how much do they really want me? How much do they actually really want me? So I get it. There are, all the reports do say he wants to come to Manchester United. But he also, it's his career. And he is ready to leave Dortmund now, properly. Like last year, he wasn't going to force for a move. You know, he was very open about that. And he's not that sort of guy. But after this year, I think he goes into now only 2 years left on his contract. Now's the time he wants to leave. So, we have to see that. Jay, how much do we actually need him? I know that might sound like a mad question. People in the comments were saying, sell Martial, send him the other way, use him for the money, whatever. But forget Martial for a second. Just how much do we need Jadon Sancho, considering our front line is, Mason's doing okay there. There's an argument that maybe it might stunt Mason's growth. We've re-signed Cavani, and we really need the centre-back and CDM, which does also say, the reports are saying that that's a priority too. How much do we need Sancho now?
That's a very excellent, pertinent question, I should say. Last season, we were crying out for a right back. And I was amazed. Sorry, right winger. Yeah. Actually, we need back right back too. That's another story.
Yeah, we'll get to that bit.
Last summer, we were crying out for a right winger, a world-class right winger, and Jadon Sancho fitted the club like a glove. But the development of Mason Greenwood this season out on the right-hand side, there is a question to be asked. If they're only going to spend, say, 100 million this season,
what are you saying here?
Would you rather get a Verratti to come in and play CDM for us, and possibly a Varane, and spend your money that way, rather than blowing the entire budget on Jadon Sancho? If they only have 80 to 100 million to spend, I would rather spend it on a CDM and a centre back personally. And I take your point. Signing Sancho now, does that stunt the development of Mason when he can still do an excellent job wide right? We know Pogba is having the form of his career out left. Martial has to come back. I can't honestly see Martial starting ahead of Cavani up top. So does Martial slip in the odd game on left wing, and does Pogba come into the pivot? There's a lot of questions to be asked. So right now, if I was given the choice, I spend the money on a centre back and a CDM personally.
Yeah, I was even. This is where it's difficult, because you know how good a player Sancho is. If he arrives at Man United, it will just make our front line so healthy. Do you know what I mean? In terms of whoever plays in it. If there's a game where it's Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho, that's pretty frightening. If it's a game where it's Cavani, Sancho, Martial, it's pretty frightening. Whichever. And we've got weight behind it. And for good, rotation and stuff like that. I always talk about I want two players for every position. I want to be able to do what City can do. I want to be able to say, right, you need a rest, or I'm going to turn up the heat on the team, the opposition team. Sancho come off the bench. Martial come off the bench. Rashford come off the bench. Whatever. There's that. And then also, there's a situation like what you said, because I was even saying it last season when it was 120 million touted to get him. I was like, but we need this, this, and this. I'd rather get these three players that are going to help the whole team than get just Sancho. And I feel like we're a little bit there again, but it just helps because he's cheaper. But you're right, we have to get a centre back and a CDM. I'm kind of worried that there's not all this talk about a CDM. That's what worries me, because with that we have to get that.
Yeah, like last week, Leicester pulled off yet another coup.
Oh,
and
Samara, exactly.
Samara, 30 million from Leeds.
And you know what's going to happen. We're going to be all looking at him next season and go, right, he's good. Look at him. He's, you know what I mean?
But I think 2 years ago, Mark did a show and he mentioned that chap's name. And every one of us have been watching that guy, off and on. I haven't been watching Lille every week. Of course I haven't. And Flex, I know you haven't either. But it's a name that's been popping up time and time and time again. And off air, we discussed that it's not our job as fans and as pundits and presenters to go into the research on players. There's people at the club getting paid a couple of £100,000 sterling per week do that job. But a player like that, 30 million to Leicester, again, like Leicester, they got Tielemans, they got Ndidi, they got Souleymane. Like, that is amazing business.
And
So
their track record of buying players from that area for that kind of price, we're kind of forced, even though we, like you said, we don't know everything about Samari, we're forced to kind of go, if Leicester are getting a player from France for 30 million, we know what's going to happen, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, and we discussed this back in January in the transfer window. We were saying there were so many players at Lille and at the mid-table and French league that were low-hanging fruit because the French league had lost out on a 5 billion euros worth of a TV deal. So the vast bulk of the French teams, apart from PSG, are still in dire financial straits. And there's players there that are low-hanging fruit they then picked off, and Leicester have done it. And
Proper.
wait till next season. That chap is going to be a baller in that Leicester midfield. That midfield, I would argue, is better than ours anyway, right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, you look at McTominay and Fred, would you rather have Tielemans and Ndidi? And I think the answer might be somewhere in between, but you can easily see a strong case for Tielemans and Ndidi. You know, Tielemans maybe doesn't run as hard as Fred or McTominay, but he's definitely better on the ball than both. Do you know what I mean? He definitely makes better decisions on the ball than both. And indeed, like we said, we'd even have him at the club. Russian Nightmare says Martial is third on the depth chart at the 9 behind Cavani and Greenwood. Martial will not be happy on the wing. Time to sell. Hold that thought there, Jay. And Mark Dobby says we need Sancho as much as we did last year. That hole was never filled. We need a centre-back and a CDM more. I will take them as a farewell from the Glazers. Back to the one that's just here that Russian Nightmare says. Martial, what? I don't always like to bring in Martial because I feel like he's been injured so long now and the squad's done well and Mason's scoring goals. And it's easy to just forget what someone done last season for you, even though he wasn't having a good season. I do understand that. But because we're talking about Sancho and what that would mean, you know, it does involve Martial. What do you think it means for him?
I know any time that we discuss Martial on the show, the Marseille FC, they jump into the comments, and no matter what we say, it's twisted and misconstrued. But it's very simple. And there we are straight away from Sam. It's very simple. The chap has been at the club 5 years. I would argue, has he developed year on year to what we need in that position is a world-class striker. We have Cavani, who's 34. I said in the show many times, when Ibrahimovic came in, Martial threw his eyes out of the pram. He sulked. He was truculent. And there was many games where he came in and he played in the left beside Ibrahimovic, and he was literally trotting around the pitch, not tracking back. And I have issue with that. Just the lack of effort from a player. If you're wearing the jersey and you play a position, fair enough, but you are there to do a job, do your job. Last season, yes, it was his best season. This year, yes, he had his injury, but even when he was playing, it's not as if Cavani has gotten any more chances up front than Martial has. Martial played, but Pogba often played on the left when Martial played up top. Bruno was behind him, and out in the wing, it was Marcus Rashford, or it was Rashford on the left wing, and out on the right wing was Dan James. So I do believe he was getting pretty much the same service as Cavani. But when it came to being that cold as ice clinical finisher in the box, for me, he just didn't do it often enough. So I can only judge Martial on what I've seen this season. Last season's great, but that's last season, mate. What have you done for me lately? It's professional sports.
How, you know, the term credit in the bank, that only really applies to somebody who's done something for a consistent period of time at a high level. So, i.e., if Harry Kane had a horrendous season this year, he's got credit in the bank because you're going to say, mate, for the past 4 or 5 seasons, he has actually shown me he gets 20 plus every year or 30 goals a season. Credit in the bank. Kevin De Bruyne, if he has a shit season, it's like it's a one-off. I think what you're saying there is, with Martial, like, it's been very intermittent, the consistency. So he doesn't have that credit in the bank to make you believe that he definitely is the right guy for number 9. Is that what you mean?
Like the comment there said that Martial is now 3rd on the depth chart for centre forward. And yes, I would agree with that point. But is Martial prepared to be third choice striker or be second choice on the left? Because Paul Pogba plays on the left now. That's his spot for me.
So is he not? Is he not third choice on the left now with Rashford there too?
Again, that's open for discussion. But that goes back to the treble-winning team in '99. We had 4 strikers.
Exactly, Jay. That's what I'm on. I'm on the depth thing, me. Yeah, I'm on everyone work for your position.
Yeah, 4 strikers. We had 2 left wingers, 2 right wingers, and you fought for your place.
100%.
Back in 2008, when we won the league and the Champions League, that front 3, Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo, that was frightening.
Yeah.
And we now have a front 3 or 4 as frightening as what we had in '99 and '08. But do we have the depth? If Cavani got injured tomorrow morning, God forbid, like I'm not really that religious, but God forbid,
yeah,
would you be comfortable? And I put it to the free seats. How many of you would be comfortable with Martial coming in and being as clinical as Cavani? Now I know he hasn't played and he's rusty. He needs a bit of game time to come in. Yeah. But how many of you would be comfortable with Martial coming over Cavani? Personally,
I think the key you said. Go on. I think the key you said there is and be as clinical as. That's the key because it's weird. It's weird. I do love Martial. It's always an uncomfortable conversation to have, which it ain't. I don't find it that uncomfortable anymore because I just be honest with it. Like I like the player. I like Tony. I like that he got written off 50 million down the drain. I love the story behind it. I love the moments he's given us. I love when he's playing well. I know there's a player in there, which is why he frustrates the hell out of me. But I have been able to separate that sentiment and say, as a top-notch striker, I can't put my hand on my heart and say that's what he is. I can't. He hasn't shown that. Like I'd just be saying it as a positive agenda towards Martial. And I'm not willing to do that, especially when new evidence has been put in front of me of a definition of what a striker is, and Cavani's doing that. Like, I can't do it. Mario just quickly says, perhaps the lack of a CDM news is a positive. They could be keeping their options open and don't want anything out on their plans, unlike last year with the right winger. That is a really logical way of thinking there, Mario, as well. I hope you're right, but it's Man United, so you never know. But hopefully that is right. Chris Panko says Martial's best season was when he played off with Rashford. Buying Sancho would enable us to play with 2 strikers instead of a lone striker role. I hear that, but I can't see Ollie going with 2 strikers and playing 2 up tops. And Vinit says Martial should be sold. Greenwood will play as Cavani has injury issues. Sancho important and also a good pull for Erling Haaland later on. And I think there's another super chat here. And Kuma says Lingard took Martial's goals with him to West Ham, something like that. And Jenske said the Irish still want Ollie out? ? I think does it mean the Irish man, as in you? I think so.
Okay,
it's not really a time for that, really, though, is it? But the super chat's there.
Can I just? I'll address that. Did I ever say in the show that I was Ollie out? I don't recall ever saying I was Ollie out.
I don't think you did.
What I do recall saying was last November when we got knocked out by Leipzig, I said give Ole until May and then readdress it. What I had a problem with was he got a new contract that wasn't predicated on finishing top 4 or winning the Europa League. That's the issue I had. Easy the manager to get us to win Champions Leagues and Premiership titles. Who knows? Unless he's back in the market, we'll never know.
Yeah, we won't ever know. You're right. Just to kind of finish off on the Sancho thing before we move on to the De Gea situation as well. Harry Maguire injury, we've got to talk about that and other priorities for the summer. To finish off on Sancho, do you think it's going to happen?
I think it will actually happen. This
you do.
This is clipped as we speak. I think it will happen because the Glazers need a marquee signing. And let's be fair, signing somebody that's got 29 goal involvements this season thus far in the Bundesliga over a centre back or a CDM, is that not just a much sexier story that the club can market and put a spin around. And also the fact that England international, he's going to be playing the Euros. He's going to let up the Euros. I've got no doubt. Plus the fact then, guys, they've got jerseys to sell and merch. So for me, they want to put a round peg in a round hole. They have to shift that merch. I'm not going to buy it. You're not going to buy it, but many of the fans will. So to exasperate fans buying the new kit, they need a marquee signing, and I think Sancho will be it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Everything points in favor of us getting him now. I feel, and I'm not. And I like you said as we finish off on him. I don't necessarily agree with it 100% because we need other areas. If they're saying to me we're going to get Sancho and we're going to get a centre half and a CDM, brilliant. But we all know that's not going to happen. That's just not. So we need to do as little deals as possible. Hence re-signing Eric Bailly, definitely re-signing Cavani. Pogba will stay, in my opinion. They need to do as little deals as possible in terms of people leaving that they need replacing so that they can make the moves they need to make. So I can't see Martial leaving. I can't see Pogba leaving. I knew we had to try and keep hold of Cavani. And I was a bit surprised with Eric Bailly. But that suggests to me that they want to put their eggs in other priorities. The fact that Cavani stays means we ain't signed the striker. No chance. No chance. I can't see it. Even I know if Harry Kane becomes available, but and all that kind of stuff, we can talk about that. But the amount of money it's going to cost is going to be insane. And the reason why they're holding on to Cavani is because they want that kind of stopgap. Time to get the money back up again. He'll leave at the end of next season. But because if not, they would have just said, thanks, Eddie. If you want to go back and be with the kids, it's fine. We've got Harry Kane anyway coming, or we're going to make a big bid for Haaland or whoever. Matthew Hill says, I'm telling you, Flex, Sancho and Pau Torres this summer. And Anthony Johnson says, sign a CDM, centre-back Rafinha. Rafinha always keeps coming up from Leeds. A lot of people like Rafinha. And then share the right wing role with Diallo. And Brian says, at what point did we start considering Declan Rice as a top-class and world-class CDM? Makes me sick to think we have fallen that low. Interesting, because I always talk about players who get lauded when they're not at our club and we think they definitely will be it. People always say about Basuma, and I have that kind of thing. But interesting that he's saying that he doesn't think Declan Rice is that good. And Mario says, as cynical as I am, the transfer window has to be the biggest in our recent past, and ownership knows this. Either that or we are making no signings. And that it is absolutely massive. Smash a like on the video, guys. Subscribe if you lot are new. Nearly 6,000 people watching, which is sick. David De Gea, man. David De Gea, like Fabrizio Romano came out and said it's paper talk. It's false news, fake news that he's going to go to Roma underneath Jose Mourinho of all people. But what we do know, which isn't fake news, that we don't need telling, is that Man United are looking for almost like a second choice keeper / third choice, whatever, because De Gea looks like he's going to go. He's lost his place officially as number one. I think we can all agree on that. How do you see it?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to predicate what I say the fact that I'm a massive De Gea fan. Yeah. And probably 2 months ago, we spent a lot of time going through the financials of the goalkeepers and what they're on per week, per month, per year. I think we come up to a figure of £26 million between Romero, De Gea, and Henderson. We didn't even include what's the other chap that doesn't play for us?
Lee Grant.
Forgive me. I'm not dismissive,
yeah.
but
I mean, Joel Pereira out on loan as well. Joel Pereira went on loan and then ended up at Norwich as well.
So 26 million shelled out on goalkeepers.
No, Norwich. Someone else. Huddersfield, sorry.
That is tantamount to financial lunacy. So Ed Woodward, who's been touted as, for the last 10 years, the money man, the great banker, he oversaw those deals. So I've major issue with David De Gea leaving the club and going out on loan. There's no way Roma are going to pay £150,000 per week.
It's going to be a Sanchez story if he goes out on loan. Disgrace. Yeah. We'll have to pay his money.
So he's on 375 basic. So Roma, hypothetically speaking, to pay 150. That's us shelling out 125 per week to let Roma have a world-class goalkeeper, while we have a keeper in situ who potentially could be world-class, but right now isn't world-class. And I have serious issue with Solskjaer that he is prepared to let a four-time player of the year under Van Gaal and Moyes. Without De Gea, we would have been mid-table, I would argue, because we were atrocious.
Awful.
So Solskjaer has no issue putting Henderson in as number one when this season, we've discussed it many times, what has De Gea done wrong to warrant being dropped? I would argue nothing. Mark did an entire show on all the goals that we conceded this season, and he could only attribute two goals to our goalkeepers. The rest were to our back four. So it's not as if De Gea has been having howler after howler of a performance. He hasn't. And this notion that he wants to go back to Spain, spend more time with his family. I didn't do geography in university. Correct me if I'm wrong. Italy ain't Spain, so why do we go to Italy? It doesn't make sense. The entire thing does not make sense.
That's true. I didn't even think of that actually.
Yeah, like
it's either go back to Spain or nothing.
Let's go back to Spain or nowhere. And his partner is she's a presenter, a long-term presenter on Spanish TV. So she has her own long-standing career in Spain. So why would he go to Italy or France? That doesn't make sense. Okay,
and still not be with them. Yeah,
and still not be with them. That part for me doesn't make sense. And then it goes to the fact that here, if hypothetically he returns to Spain, Barcelona are broke, Real Madrid are broke, Atletico have all black. So where does he go to in Spain? So that entire conundrum with De Gea and Henderson has been unnecessarily created by the club.
So then, Jay, I agree with you 1,000,000%, pretty much on everything you just said, yeah. Especially that bit of like, it don't make sense to go France or Italy or wherever, yeah. Germany, not that he's been there, but I'm just saying anywhere else but Spain. But does that mean that maybe he could stay then? Because if you're David De Gea, we don't know the exact conversation that's gone on. Maybe David De Gea has said, I want to be closer to the family or with the family, so let me go somewhere in Spain. But like you said, it wouldn't make sense if it wasn't Spain. But maybe he's like, the destination's not really there right now in Spain. I'm on 375k a week. Of course, at this stage of my career, I still want to be number one. I don't want to be second fiddle to the young kid who's just come. But I'll stay and show him levels and sit on this money. Or do you think United are like, nah, David, like, with all due respect, you kind of do have to go now. We're actually saying, like, we want to start phasing you out. Or do you think he'd stay?
Yeah, the club is in a kind of rock and a hard place because after the debacle with Sanchez, who was on 400k a week, who was sitting there and not being played, and then went out on loan to Inter, the club, for optics and PR, they cannot have a player sitting on the bench again that kind of money because it looks so bad. The optics are terrible. So maybe a conversation has been had to that effect. That listen, David. You've been a great servant for the club, blah, 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 blah. But we need you to go in the summer and we're going to do our best to find you a club and destination that suits you, which you would think is Spain, not Italy, not France. So the entire thing to me, and Flex, I know you agree, it just does not make sense. It's horrendous management.
What about the second keeper coming in then? How do you feel about that? Tom Heaton, Sam Johnston, players of this ilk, just to kind of play second fiddle to not David Gea, Dean Henderson, because that is what's being spoke about a lot, that Man United are searching. So they're clearly trying to move David De Gea somewhere. Where's it? And that goes back to where's it going to be. But what do you think of that second keeper coming in?
Yeah, the very fact that they are already recruiting for a second goalkeeper tells me that they've already psychologically, if not financially, moved on from David De Gea already. That speaks volumes in itself. I just would hope that good business governments would tell them not to make the same mistake that they've already made and get in a backup goalkeeper who literally is a backup and is prepared to sit on the bench. And I don't want another issue to arise in a year's time where the backup is all of a sudden thinks he's number one and is knocking the manager's door demanding to be played. Which, and let's be fair, that's pretty much what happened.
It is. It's exactly what's happened. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I remember saying, big up Xander when Xander was obviously still here. At the beginning of the season, Xander agreed with me. I said, by the end of the season, my prediction was that Dean Henderson would be the number one. I could just feel it. I just knew it. You know, I just wanted Dean Henderson to come in to give De Gea the kick up the arse to, like, you know what I mean, settle down again and know that he can be dropped. Because last season, when he was going through all them howlers, there was no chance of Romero coming in. Like, Romero just was not getting played, which I still think was bad. They still should have played him when De Gea was playing badly. But he should have been taken out the firing line, David De Gea. But what's happened is that they've brought him back not to give him the kick up the arse. They've brought him back to bed him in to be the number one. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a really weird one. I can't say I'm surprised, but I'm annoyed at the way it's been done. I just think the circumstances is what's done David De Gea. Like, the circumstances that there's a young kid from the academy. He spent 2 years at Sheffield United. Proved that he can play to a level. They gave him a new deal. They also gave David De Gea a new deal on stupid money. And all of these things have culminated into just a bad set of circumstances that are only going to benefit Dean Henderson and not David De Gea. The age as well. You know what I mean? And I just feel I feel like David De Gea is falling victim to circumstances. Because if Dean Henderson weren't our player or wasn't coming through, we didn't have him there, we wouldn't be looking for a new keeper because we're saying David De Gea's past it. We wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a great point there. I agree with everything you said, barring age. I think De Gea's age right now is irrelevant. He's 30.
And that's prime for a keeper, to be fair.
Yeah. Like, Jean-Louis.
But when I say age, I don't mean
retired last week.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but when I say age, let me put context. When I say age, I don't mean Henderson's better than him because he's young. I mean in terms of they will want to invest in the keeper that they can keep for the next 10 years, as opposed to the keeper that Man United see that they can keep for the next 4 or 5 years and then miss out on the younger one because he's going to get pissed off and leave. That's what I meant.
That's fair. Yeah. I take your point. Yeah. But I felt last season when David was going through his bad patch, Solskjaer hadn't the minutes to drop him for Romero. Like, it's not as if we had Joe Pereira sitting on the bench. It's Romero. You know, Romero for me, when he played for us, he never put a foot wrong. I thought he was exceptional when he played for us. Exceptional. And we won the Europa League with him in goal. The entire campaign he played. So Romero should have come in at that point and rested David when David needed to be rested. And Solskjaer just did not do it. That's on a manager. And then the summertime, then it's like Romero gets treated with complete and utter disrespect. You know, he's off home, during COVID. He's not even wanted to come back. So he's disrespected by the club. Everton were in for him as a transfer. The club wouldn't allow him to be sold to Everton, if you recall. And he would have been a start for Everton, no question.
That was exactly. Yeah, that's sad. I forgot about that. They didn't let him go to Everton. Yeah.
So that was another move where you're thinking, God, guys, what the hell are they doing here? So Henderson, yes, for Sheffield United, he was good. I'm not going to speak. He was good.
He was brilliant. He was really good for them.
However, surely logic would have dictated, okay, send Dino out on loan for one more season. If you see him as the heir apparent, he goes on loan again, or you sell him with a buyback clause in 2 years' time. You stick with David and Romero in the interim.
Buyback clause,
And then in 2 years' time, you bring him back because he's played at a higher level again than Sheffield United. You bring him back. Then De Gea is 32. And maybe at that point, then there's a deal available,
and it'd be cheaper to sell because he'll be in like the last year of his contract, etc.
Yeah,
that's true. Jay for director of football, mate.
But that just makes business sense. That's it's very
which is
simple.
why it won't.
Like,
which is why it won't make sense to Man United, though.
yeah,
You mean?
but that's how I
Um,
saw it. Okay, so
Tom says Kunde De Gea swap deal. De Gea going to Sevilla, maybe Kunde. I mean, I just think De Gea will probably still want to play at the highest level. And no disrespect to Sevilla, because they've had a great run in the Europa League. They kind of sometimes get Champions League, but I think he'd want to be competing for titles or competing for the big honours, having not
yeah,
done it for so long at Man United in this period. Mark Dobby says, why aren't people up in arms about this De Gea situation? Club great being moved on for a keeper who I bet you can't give an example of why he should. And Chris Pankhurst says, David De Gea got his contract first. Henderson is another Jordan Pickford. One good season don't make you world class. Even Romero is better than Henderson. One thing I will say is I'm not really in the camp of saying Henderson shit, because he's not shit, in my opinion. I don't think he's better than David De Gea. I don't think he's shown that yet. I haven't even seen him play at Old Trafford in front of 75,000 people in a high-pressure match. I still need to see that evidence. Do you know what I mean? So he's not better than David De Gea, but what I do give Henderson flowers for, and I do respect about him, is that he, one, believes in his ability and believes that he should be the number one. And as a keeper at Man United, if you want to make it, you need that arrogance. Two, I think he has shown ability. He's shown he is good, and he's shown I believe he will turn into a top keeper as well. So I don't really have a problem with that. So I'm not really in the camp of, oh, he's not even as good as Romero, he's going to be another Pickford. I don't personally see that. Do you actually think Henderson is good?
yeah, I do acknowledge he's good. I definitely acknowledge that he's levels ahead of Pickford, because I don't rate Pickford whatsoever. And a few months ago on a show, I did say, and quote myself back, this entire situation has been a English media hunt against David De Gea, because English media want Henderson playing in the Euros.
Yeah,
and I stand by that.
yeah.
I stand by that point. I said it months ago.
You have always stood by that, yeah.
Yeah, Henderson, no doubt, is a good goalkeeper. No question about it. Can he be world class to be at the level of David De Gea? Well, only time will tell. There's not a big enough body of work right now to say that he will. And the point you raised, that until he's done it on front of a cop, for instance, away game Liverpool in January against a militant cop end,
100%.
Can he do it then, or can he do it at Old Trafford quarter-final Champions League? And
because it's different. Like because I think people who maybe don't understand this argument is that they might say, yeah, he's played at all those stadiums packed out with Sheffield United. Completely different ball game. The true essence of being a Man United goalkeeper, which David De Gea has proved many times before, is you're in a team that has the ball. Yes, our midfield's not the best and stuff. We want to fix it, but the other team's sitting back against us. Man United are on the front foot, trying to break down the team, trying to score. David De Gea, for large parts, has a cigar in his mouth, chilling, or just has to take goal kicks. But when you get called upon, you need to be ready. Do you know what I mean? And then, like you said, when you play against the very good teams, your Cities, your Liverpools, your etc., you could have a busy game, So I think that's the defining moment. I'm not saying Dean Henderson hasn't played in front of a crowd before. What I'm saying is he hasn't played in front of a crowd under Manchester United, which is a whole different ballgame. You know what I'm saying? Just quickly, Gabriel says that performance against Roma, I've seen De Gea put in 20 plus times in the last 4 to 5 years. I hope Hendo doesn't have to play next season with Magaluf and McFred next season, because I don't see him doing it. And Shaikh says, imagine this being a big bluff. I mean, Ollie pretends Dean is the one so that he plays in Europe, in the Europa League. And once the Euros... so he plays in the Euros, and once the Euros is back, De Gea is back and Dean will be loaned out. Basically, it's just a ploy to get Dean Henderson into the Euros, and when he gets back from the Euros, back to normal. That's never going to happen. It's not, is it? It's not. Smash a like on the video, guys. Going into the last segment here, a little bit to talk about. Harry Maguire, how important is it that we try and get him back fit? Ollie's saying it's ligament damage. Ligament damage could be 4 weeks, could be 4 months, could be 4 days. Yeah, he hasn't broken anything and stuff, but He's definitely not going to play for the rest of the Premier League games. And is that a risk? Do you think Solskjaer would risk him if he's not quite there?
Based on the evidence, how Solskjaer has risked Marcus Rashford week in, week out for the last couple of months, I think Europa League final, he would definitely risk Harry Maguire, irrespective of ligament damage. The issue I have with that is Harry Maguire, he's not exactly a small guy. He's like 1.90 m, close to 100 kilos. So your lateral and medial movement on your ankle at any body weight is crucial. But at that massive body weight, it is taking a huge risk. Is it a risk worth taking? Well, only the manager and the player can answer that. If, for argument's sake, Bailly and Lindelof partnership works. Now, it's very hard to, say if it works against Fulham or Wolves, because you can't read too much into it. I would say play Bailly and Lindelof against Liverpool and just see what happens. Because Bailly, as much like the guy, he's capable of pulling a madness in the game, trying to do an acrobatic clearance or risk life and limb to clear a ball where he literally could head the post or whatever. The man, I think, if anything, his bravery and his tenacity is probably his biggest weakness, I feel.
Yeah.
If he was a calmer centre back, I think he would be a better centre back, as much as I rate him as a player. So I think Champions League final. Sorry, when I say Champions League, God, I wish Champions League. Europa League final. Yeah, I wish Europa League final day. Harry Maguire is the captain of the club. This is his chance of lifting the first trophies of his career. If he's capable of
massive, as Man United captain as well.
As Man United captain, if he is even 80% fit and capable of going into pitch, I think Solskjaer will start him.
I agree. I do agree. Couple of super chats here. Rafa says Dean is good. However, I think he's going to crumble. Romero has provided himself at Old Trafford, but Dean Henderson may not be up for that sort of pressure. I think proved himself, that must be. And SA says, love United and free Palestine. Listen, I know this is a football channel. I know people don't want to get involved in the politics and stuff like that. And I'm one for that, but you don't have to be a politician or religious and anything just to say that, what's going on there shouldn't be going on. So thoughts with everybody there, because it's not good. I definitely will say that. And Gabriel Noel says, that performance against Roma, I've seen De Gea. I've said that one already. And Rafa, we've said that one already as well. Yeah, just to kind of finish off on Harry Maguire thing. Does he deserve some credit? Because I think he does. I've been very critical of Harry Maguire early on, from the evidence as well. And I'm always one I can happily, based upon new evidence, drop something that I thought was it or not it. I'm not that guy. I won't just be like, well, I said this 9 months ago, so I'm still sticking by it no matter what I see. I see a player that has slowly started growing into the role. Has he got his deficiencies? Yes. Is he going to stupidly pull someone down? Is he going to get caught wrong side of the ball? Is he slow? Yeah, of course. But I still see someone that actually has become a really vital part of our team. And I think he deserves a little bit of an easier ride in terms of how he's settled down, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I've been
You haven't. You haven't. No, you haven't. You've gone in. You've gone in.
I've gone in them, and I refer to himself and Lindelof as busted sofas.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, I base that on the evidence that I saw at the time of offering.
Has he proved you wrong, Jay? Has he proved you wrong?
Okay. His attitude was clearly his irritability and his ability to take the ball out of the back. He's massively improved at taking the ball out of the back, running with the ball and laying off a 10-15 yard pass. He's massively improved on that. And for a guy his size, be able to run out of the back four with the ball and play a pass to the midfield, that is an attribute that I didn't think he possessed. Offensively, he wins practically every offensive header that we get. I'd love to see the stats on how many corners and free kicks we have this season, how many headers Harry Maguire has won from set pieces. Where did they end up?
Yeah, he needs to improve that. He needs to improve.
That is a massive deficiency in his game. Can you make Harry Maguire any faster? No, you can't. It's his basic genetic build-up. He's not going to get any faster. Okay? The price tag, not his fault.
Not his fault.
Overpaid.
Even the captaincy, not his fault.
Now, that I have issue with.
But it's not his fault, though.
No, but I don't see the leadership traits in him that I want to see from a captain.
Is he improving in that area for you?
Okay. His post-match interviews, for me, his body language is all wrong. His body language post-match interviews, it's almost like he doesn't want to be there. He's looking down away from the camera. He doesn't want to be there.
But the way he interacts, then basically,
right? If that is his body language with a camera and an interviewer after a match, is he the man that's going to stand up in front of his fellow professionals and give a team talk for a game or team talk at halftime? I don't know. So for me, I just don't see him as, an alpha male atypical leader. Now, I'm going back to leaders in the club like Brian Robson, Wayne Rooney. Obviously, I'm going to say Roy Keane.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
But Beckham was a leader. Beckham was a leader in the pitch and dressing room. He was England captain. Paul Scholes was a leader. He wasn't screaming, shouting referees, but he was a leader.
Well, then on that, then
Vidic, Ferdinand
was but just quickly on that, you look at how Scholes would interact with, say, the media. Couldn't talk for shit, head down, very timid. But you're saying that he's talking now. But you're saying, he was a leader in terms of his performance and he would, be at it and stuff like that. Couldn't we afford Harry Maguire the same luxury to say, okay, he may not be good in front of the camera or he might not give you that vibe, but on the pitch, he's starting to get in referees' faces. He's starting to back the plays. He's starting to organise and maybe do it in a football way. Okay,
he has definitely started to get in referees' faces a lot more since January. No question about that. Because prior to that, whenever the camera angle shot to the referee, who was always in the referee's face? Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
But Bruno, he's just that kind of fireball,
He's just always on it.
If it's a misplaced pass, he's going to scream at the person gets missed. That's just his personality. Maguire has improved in his interactions with the referees. Yes, he has. But I still feel he needs a leader beside him at centre back to make up for his deficiencies as a leader, and also to make up for his blatant lack of pace, which we agree that can't be improved.
I agree with that. Ronald Jacobs says Greenwood had England thing and his good friends thing still came back. Okay, yeah, he's obviously a friend who passed away and the England thing with Foden, and got 12 goals and 6 assists from right wing or at times striker. Martial is below Greenwood for me. How can we compare him to anyone else? But that just took me off target there because we're talking about Harry Maguire. SA says sorry, Flex. I don't know what for. I don't know why he's sorry. Don't be sorry. It's cool. I don't know what for. And Ashin says I would never sell De Gea, which we kind of were talking about 15 minutes ago as well. And thank you to Mo for the contribution as well. Big up Mo. I just someone just said there, the last thing, actually we will, says Chris and PJ7 says talk about Valencia. We will in the last few minutes, don't we worry. I just feel like Harry Maguire, I feel like I was a bit too harsh on him. I will admit that. I can say that. I still think he's not a world-class centre-back. I still think that he leaves things wanting. I agree with you 1,000,000% where he needs... That's why I want this next centre-back to be experienced and ready to go. Someone like a Varane. what puts me off of Pau Torres and a really young kid is that I don't really want Harry Maguire having to coach them through. I want the person to come in to be above Harry Maguire. You know, I know Varane might not speak English or whatever, but I don't know. But he's won everything there is to win almost. He's a serial winner. He's a proper world-class centre-half. Harry Maguire will be looking to his right shoulder saying, yeah, I need to up that's where I need to be at. So I agree with that. I just think that I did write him off as a captain, and I still think Bruno has more captaincy tendencies than him. I do agree with that. And, you know, look, he was captain at Sporting and done a great job of that. Passionate, real passionate. But I just feel like he has improved, though, in those areas. Like you said, you're seeing him a bit more vocal. You're seeing him organising. And I think he's just settled down a bit. I just think he's settled down. You know what I mean? The price tag weren't his fault. Of course, he's not an £80 million centre-back. Of course, he's slow. Of course, you know, there's things that you look on the eye, you think, oh, bloody hell, Harry Maguire. He's not perfect. And if you get the right partner next to him, though, I do think we will be all right. You know, because you look at the fact that he's going to be missing. I don't know how you felt about it. I don't know if you felt, no worries, just buy Lindelof, fine. But I was a little bit like, actually, buy Lindelof, there's not really much commanding presence in terms of the physicality in the air, like the dominance in the air. And, you know, Bailly's not as good on the ball as Maguire as well. So sometimes they say you don't know what you got till it's gone. I don't know. And I just feel like he's missing. And it just made me think a little bit different and maybe say, you know what? Let me give him his flowers a bit. Not. He's not perfect. He's not perfect. But I just feel he has improved.
Yeah, look, I would agree he has improved. But I think the issue that we've all had all season is that even when Bailly was fit and Axel Juansevi were fit, neither of them got a look in to play beside Maguire.
100%. And that's on Ollie. That's on Ollie.
Both of those players bring out a much better Harry Maguire because they cover
100%.
up for his lack of pace. They cover up for it.
100%.
Both of them. And that's on Ollie. And I've seen this issue with it.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree with that. Roger Benjamin says, Fletcher a DJ, get Maguire some dancing lessons or send him to the funder. And Ronald Jacob says, make sense out of this, please. De Gea, yes, has done a lot for the club, but City is letting him go now. De Gea has done a lot for the club, but City is making him go now. Why do we hold on to players more? Oh, if it was City, they would let him go now. Okay. Why do we hold on to players more? He is a legend, but he can go ahead now and look at a new challenge. Basically saying if he did what he did for City, like they would have let him go by now. I don't know. I just think for the player we're bringing him in for the player we're replacing him with, it's not that much of a step up, in my opinion. If any, right now, I don't think it's a step up.
Yeah, but it's not just easy as let him go. It's not easy. Like he's worth 50 million on a transfer market, and he's on 375k wages. So, what top class team in any league is going to give us 50 million and pay his wages? I'd argue nobody. So it's not as easy to just let him go. It's just that's not that simple.
Yeah, no, it's not. And Ronald says, sorry for confusing the last chat, but I meant Man City is letting Aguero go. Oh, right, okay, but we are holding on to De Gea. If Aguero was here, would we still give him a 5-year? Well, I think I take your point, Ronald, but I think the difference is that Aguero's had a lot of injuries where he can't even really play. He hasn't even been playing for City, and you know they've just moved on. And yes, he is an absolute City legend, of course, and he's the highest scoring foreign player ever, and he's up there in terms of one of the best Premier League strikers ever. But he's not. They can't really get much change out of him. He couldn't even stay fit. He's getting a lot of big injuries, and he's not looking the same. So that's a bit different. De Gea is kind of still in his prime. Let's move on to the last little bit here, though, man. Valencia, man. Antonio Valencia has retired from football, but he has sent like an open letter to the Man United fans, of course. And Man United, it's weird when you say legend. Like, maybe he's not a legend, but he's a Man United great. You know what I mean? He's a Man United cult hero. He's a Man United great servant. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not the word legend, but I'd say he's... Actually, is he a legend? Is Antonio a legend?
I think the word legend in modern society is bandied around far too.
I agree.
No doubt Antonio Valencia a class act for us. He was. And when he reverted back to play fullback from being a winger, I think he did his best years at the club actually as a right back. But legend, no. Like, if you're using the word legend, like Beckham, Giggs, Scholes, Keane,
exactly,
Vidic, Ferdinand, Schmeichel.
Everyone's saying he's a great.
Legend.
You can go to
They're
United.
legends.
Great.
You can't put Valencia in the same context or sentence as a legend. I'm
Exactly,
sorry.
because then that means you have to start using the word like gods for the others.
Yeah.
Like, you have to invert a new adjective, like,
Yeah.
because Rooney's a legend. Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I see that, and I don't. And look, I'm not disrespecting what he's done, and we're going to go on to talk about it real quick before we finish. But yeah, I just, and unsung heroes coming up a lot as well. Definitely, I don't think people. You got to remember, he came in straight after Ronaldo with big shoulders to fill from Wigan, and he was solid. He was quick. He was strong. Always fit. No left foot. Never used his left foot once in his whole Man United career. And then got changed into a right back as well. And you know what? That season he had under LVG at right back, I want to say. Yeah, it was LVG.
Yeah, it was.
He was like the best right back in the league for 1 year. I remember he was solid. No one would get past. Great servant to the club. But this is what his letter says to Manchester United fans. At the age of 14 as a child, I left my family, my village, and my first team to travel to the capital of my country. I traveled with a lot of nostalgia, but full of hope. A few years later, I was able to travel to Europe, something I have never dreamed of. I played in Spain, and then I came to my second home, England. Wigan was a unique experience. That's crazy. I didn't go to Wigan from being from Ecuador, like crazy. We don't often realize where these players actually come from. They come from nothing. They come from the slums, man. And then God gave me the opportunity to join Manchester United. I will never forget everything I experienced at Old Trafford. I will never forget every goal, every trophy, and the wonderful fans. I did not think this moment would come so soon, but my body has asked me to make this decision. I'm announcing my retirement from football. I want to thank everyone who has been part of my career and my life. God in the first place, for always blessing me and Zoella and my daughter Dominique, who I have been my pillars, and my parents for giving me so much. To the fans of all the countries where I have played, I have always tried to give my best. Thank you for your affection and support. And you know what? Like you said, he's listening to his body. His body's told him that it's time to pack up. But what a journey, though. What a career as well.
I must say, Flax, that for me, that is a heartfelt letter written by the man himself.
Yeah,
that's not
his PR company. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
And that's heartfelt, and absolute respect to Valencia for taking the time to acknowledge our fan base and other fans he played with, and acknowledge his family, and obviously, and he even acknowledged people that had any part in his career whatsoever. And he explained very, very well how he came from nothing and got massive opportunities in Manchester and Wigan. So that's the difference between a letter written from the heart with emotion by your own hand and not by a PR company.
Absolutely, and I think a fitting way to finish off with this last super chat here from Mario says, players like Valencia simply don't exist anymore. An absolute servant. United should look more into Ecuadorians and South Americans, where we have with Cavani, and we've tied him down. We have crazy passion. Jay, thanks for coming on, man. What are you saying? KG out? Should we do that?
No, I don't think that's fair on KG, but
I do. I think that's fair on him. I do. But thanks for coming on. It's been a blast, man. Thanks everyone for watching. There is actually just one last super chat here, and put some respect on that. Hiron says, unsung hero. Tune would change if United gave De Gea a team to win more trophies. Most Player of the Year awards. A legend of the past decade is what Hiron said. Thanks everyone for watching. Let's see if Arsenal get beat up by Chelsea. We could do with Arsenal nicking some points off Chelsea, actually. Just fancy that, because it's done for Arsenal, isn't it? Can't laugh at them anymore. So I wouldn't mind Chelsea just taking a little backseat, taking a loss. Do you care about that game?
Yeah, but it means Arsenal have to win, and then Zayn Yasser will come on our show tomorrow night and be insufferable. So no.
Actually, I forgot about that. Big up everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Big game. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that, actually. And breaking news, United ladies manager quits as well, which we did see earlier as well. And that was a shock as well. That's a whole different ballgame. We'll get into that another time. Peace. We're out.